Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever stepped foot in a preschool, you know it's an absolute whirlwind of energy. Today, we're diving straight into how modern educators are taking that whirlwind and shaping it into a truly inclusive learning environment. Our main focus today is exactly how inclusive learning practices work on the ground. Whether you're a seasoned pro, a brand new teacher, or just fascinated by child development, the way we teach our youngest learners is shifting fast, and professional certification is the engine driving the whole shebang. So here's the million-dollar question that challenges pretty much every early childhood educator today. How do you teach a classroom where literally every single child learns differently? Think about it for a second. You've got a room packed with energetic preschoolers, and every single one of them processes the world in their own unique way, right? Some are totally visual, some absolutely need hands-on sensory input, and others just thrive on social interaction. How do we actually reach all of them without leaving anyone behind? Well, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the inclusive classroom shift, how inclusive practices work, real-world classroom success, upgrading skills with certification, and finally, tools for continuous growth. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the inclusive classroom shift, moving beyond outdated methods. You know, the field of early childhood education is just constantly evolving. We are way past the days of a one-size-fits-all curriculum. To give these kids the high-quality experiences they deserve, educators really have to stay on top of the latest child development research and new learning tech. Relying on those old, outdated methods? Yeah, that just won't cut it anymore. Especially since we now know so much more about things like the neurodivergent spectrum, developmental milestones, and emotional regulation. Which brings us right to Section 2, how inclusive practices work, supporting diverse learning styles. This is the real meat of our focus today. Because every kid learns differently, we've got to master practical strategies to meet them exactly where they are. So how do inclusive practices actually work in the real world? Well, instead of forcing a wiggly child to just sit perfectly still and listen, you use visual learning methods for those who need to literally see a concept. Or you bring in dynamic sensory activities, think kinetic sand or water tables, so they can physically feel the lesson. By using differentiated instruction, teachers are constantly adapting on the fly. And honestly, it's not about lowering the bar, it's about building different ramps to reach the exact same heights. Moving on to Section 3, real-world classroom success, transforming the learning environment. Let's picture a classroom transformation for a second. Before specialized training, you might see children losing interest, diverse learning abilities just going unaddressed, and teachers totally struggling to explain a child's progress to their parents. But after, it's like night and day. You start seeing flexible learning stations and hands-on sensory materials everywhere. Student engagement and confidence absolutely skyrocket. Inclusive practices aren't just trendy buzzwords, folks. They completely change the entire dynamic of the room. Let's look at Section 4, upgrading skills with certification, the engine behind the practices. So, those amazing transformations we just talked about, they don't happen by magic. They are the direct result of specialized professional training. Educators are upgrading their skills through structured programs, like flexible early childhood online courses, nursery or pre-primary teacher training, or even Montessori teacher training. No matter the specific path, the goal is exactly the same: building a rock-solid, certified foundation to master these inclusive methods. But what's actually under the hood of these programs? Well, it all starts with child psychology and developmental milestones. And here's a crucial takeaway. If you don't understand how a child's brain is developing, you simply can't teach them inclusively. These courses help teachers master lesson planning and classroom organization that perfectly balances rigorous learning with play. Plus, they dive deep into learning assessment and emotional regulation. It is quite literally the essential toolkit for today's diverse classrooms. And finally, Section 5, tools for continuous growth, maintaining an effective classroom. To figure out if these inclusive environments are actually working, educators rely heavily on a structured observation framework. Because let's face it, you can't just guess if a kid is getting it. Teachers actively use things like learning journals, progress notes, development checklists, and portfolio assessments. This kind of structured observation is a total game changer. It lets an educator step back and say, okay, this sensory activity worked beautifully for this group, but I need a more visual approach for this specific child. It completely takes the guesswork out of teaching. Right alongside that observation is the reflection method. To really gauge success, teachers have to ask some tough questions after every single session. Things like, what worked well? what needs improvement, most importantly, how did the children actually respond, and finally, what changes should be made. This active reflection guarantees that the classroom stays dynamic and inclusive. You're adapting to the children, rather than forcing them to adapt to some rigid, inflexible curriculum. All of these tools fuel what we call the continuous improvement cycle. It's a powerful 5-step engine. You learn new methods, apply them in the classroom, observe the results, reflect on those outcomes, and improve for tomorrow. It's just this incredible, endless loop of getting better. Honestly, it's the real secret sauce to keeping a classroom highly effective and genuinely inclusive. Ultimately, putting time and energy into your professional growth is the absolute best way to create better, more inclusive experiences for all young children. Our teaching practices have to reflect how kids actually learn today, and this ongoing education is what guarantees we stay effective. It builds unshakable confidence in the classroom, opens up career opportunities, and at the end of the day, it's what directly impacts every single child's success. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Are you ready to completely upgrade your teaching skills and build a classroom where every single child can thrive? The tools, the frameworks, and the certification pathways are all right there waiting for you to grab them. The inclusive shift is happening, and it's a fantastic thing to be a part of. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep exploring.